The alien auction. The lights were too bright. The noise was too loud. The smell was strange. Leora stood still, her hands tied in front of her, her eyes wide. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. But her heart was beating fast, like a trapped animal. She was on a platform high above a crowd of aliens. Some had 4 eyes. Some had sharp teeth. Some looked like walking plants. They all stared at her like she was a toy, or maybe a pet. "This one is special," the auctioneer said with a laugh. He had blue skin and long fingers that pointed at her. "Barely speaks. Young, healthy, royal blood maybe. Who knows?" The crowd laughed. "Start the bidding," someone shouted. A green alien waved a hand. 10 credits, she can clean my ship." 15, shouted another. "She'll make a nice pet for my daughter." 20, called a third, licking his lips. Then someone said, "Give her to the human." The room fell quiet. Leora looked across the room. At the back stood a tall figure, a human. He wore dark armor and didn't move. His face was hard to see under his helmet, but something about him was different, cold, calm. The auctioneer laughed. "Yes, give her to the human. He looks lonely." The crowd roared with laughter. "Commander Reed," the auctioneer called out, "do you accept the gift?" The human stepped forward. "Yes," he said simply. The room fell quiet again. Some aliens looked confused. Others whispered. "You're serious?" the auctioneer asked. Reed nodded once. Leora was untied and pushed toward him. She didn't fight. She didn't run. But she didn't look at him either. He took her arm gently. Not rough, not cruel, just firm. They walked out of the auction hall together. No one laughed now. The ship was small but clean. Silver walls, blue lights, silent halls. Leora sat on the floor of a small room. She had a soft bed, a warm blanket, food that tasted okay. No cage, no chains, just quiet. The human didn't talk much. He gave her space. He showed her how to use the food machine. He told her where the bathroom was. Then he left her alone. Strange. He didn't touch her, didn't shout, didn't ask her to clean or serve. Just silence. She watched him sometimes from the hallway. He sat in the control room looking at the stars. His face was tired. His eyes were sad. One day, she asked, "Why, me?" He looked at her, surprised that she spoke. "Didn't want them to sell you to someone worse," he said. She blinked. "You don't want me?" He shrugged. "Didn't say that, just not like them." Leora didn't understand him, but she felt something strange. A small feeling in her chest. Not fear, not hate, something soft. Days passed. She began to learn more words. He started talking a little more, told her his name, Commander Reed, a soldier, fought in the Galactic War, lost many friends. Now he just flew alone, job to job. He taught her some human language. She taught him some words from her own planet. Slowly, the silence turned into small talks, but every night, she still had the same dream, a voice whispering, "The seed must live." She didn't know what it meant, but she always woke up sweating. One night, she got out of bed to get water. As she walked past the control room, she heard Reed's voice. He wasn't alone. A small communication screen was on. He was speaking to someone, an old man with a gray beard. "She doesn't know anything yet," Reed said. "She must not find out too early," the man replied. "The child changes everything." Leora stopped breathing. "She's still just a girl," Reed said. "She's more than that," the man replied. "She's not like the others. You know what she carries." Reed looked tired. "Yes, I know." The screen went dark. Leora backed away slowly, heart pounding. What child? What secret? Why her? She didn't understand. But something was very, very wrong. The silent ship Leora sat near the window of the spaceship, watching the stars pass by like silver rain. The ship moved through space so smoothly it felt like the stars were the ones floating, not them. She had not spoken to Reed since that night, the night she heard everything. The child changes everything. She doesn't know yet. She's not like the others. Those words echoed in her mind like a song she couldn't forget. But what did they mean? She wasn't pregnant. That was impossible. Right? The ship made a soft hum as it traveled. Every part of it was clean, silent, and cold, like its captain. Reed didn't act strange. He made her meals, showed her how to use the ship's translator, even let her sit in the control room during long flights. But now she watched him differently. Every movement, every word. Who was he really? Why did he take her? What was this child they talked about? One morning she woke up and ran to the bathroom. Her stomach twisted, her head spun. She fell to her knees, gasping. Reed heard the noise and rushed in. "Leora, what's wrong?" She couldn't answer. Her vision blurred, fade to black. She woke, up in the medbay. The lights were soft. A smooth robotic voice spoke. "Scan complete. Female, early pregnancy detected, estimated 5 weeks." Leora blinked. "No, that can't be right. He never. She sat up quickly. Reed stood near the wall, his face pale, his jaw tight. "I didn't do anything," he said quietly. "I swear, Leora, I didn't touch you." Leora stared at him. Then, "How?" He rubbed his hands over his face and looked away. "Your species. There's something about your DNA. You're engineered by someone else. A long time ago." "What are you talking about?" she whispered. Reed sighed. "You weren't sold to me as a joke. That auction, it was a setup." Leora felt cold all over. "What setup?" He turned to her. "You were given to me because I'm human. Our species are genetically compatible. Someone planned this. Someone wanted you to get pregnant." She stepped back. "That's crazy." "Is it?" he said, his voice low. "Your people have been missing for decades. Your kind were rare even during the war. Then suddenly one appears at a shady auction when I just happened to be passing by." He shook his head. "It's not an accident." Leora sat down, her hands shaking. "So what is the child then?" Reed looked her straight in the eyes. "I don't know. But the last person I talked to, the one on the comm that night, he said the baby is something new, something powerful." Leora touched her stomach gently. "I didn't ask for this," she whispered. "I know," he replied. "Neither did I." The next few days were quiet, but not peaceful. Leora felt something growing inside her. Not just a baby, something strange. Her dreams were sharper now. She saw cities made of light, a throne floating in the stars, a voice calling her by a name she had never heard before. Mother of the Seed. She tried to shake it off. Maybe it was the stress. Or maybe she was going crazy. Then came the bounty ship. They spotted it on the radar. Reed's face went tight the moment he saw the signal. "Someone's found us." He took the controls and started flying fast, turning sharply through a cloud of space debris. Leora held onto the seat. "Who are they?" "Hunters," he said. "Paid to bring you back. Or worse." The enemy ship fired. The silent ship shook. Lights flickered. Reed cursed and slammed the controls. "You're not giving
Me up, are you?"
she asked quietly. He turned to her, eyes burning. "Not now. Not ever." He turned on the defense system. Drones launched from the wings. The enemy ship dodged and fired back. Suddenly, Leora felt something inside her shift. Not pain, not fear, power. She stood up, ignoring Reed's shout. She walked to the back of the ship, to the engine room. Something pulled her there. She placed her hand on the wall. The ship responded. Lights glowed. The engine hummed louder, faster. The ship moved like it was alive. Reed's voice came through the speaker. What the hell are you doing? She didn't answer. Her eyes were glowing now. Her skin shimmered like starlight. The ship made a sharp jump into a wormhole. The enemy ship disappeared behind them. Silence. Reed stood in the hallway staring at her. What just happened? Leora looked at her hands. I don't know. I just knew what to do. You controlled the jump without touching anything. She nodded slowly. The air between them was heavy. You're changing, he said. Leora placed her hand on her stomach. No, we're changing. That night, Reed spoke to the man on the screen again. She used the ship like it was part of her. We escaped because of her. The old man nodded. It's beginning then. The child is waking up. Through her. Reed's face was grim. She deserves to know the truth. The man shook his head. Not yet. If she knows who she really is, they'll find her faster. They're already hunting her, Reed said. Then you know what you must do, the man said. Protect her. At all costs. The screen turned black. Meanwhile, Leora stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her eyes were glowing again. Not human, not alien. Something new, and deep inside her, the child was listening. The child of the treaty. Leora sat in the dark, holding her knees to her chest. The room felt colder now, quieter. But inside her, everything was changing. The child inside her wasn't normal. That much she knew. She could feel its presence like a second heartbeat. Not just growing, but watching, thinking, dreaming, and sometimes talking. Not with words, not exactly, but with feelings, images, memories that weren't hers. Reed entered the room. He was careful now, gentler when he spoke to her, slower in how he moved, like he thought she might break. She didn't feel broken. She felt different. We need to talk, he said, sitting down across from her. She didn't move, just stared at him. There's something I haven't told you. About the baby. About you. Leora raised an eyebrow. You mean besides the glowing eyes, the ship that listens to me, and bounty hunters trying to steal my unborn child? Reed gave a small, tired smile. Yeah, besides all that. He stood up and pulled out a small cube from his jacket. He placed it on the floor. A soft blue light rose, forming a hologram of a planet, broken, cracked, and glowing from inside like lava. That's Eurevia, he said. Destroyed 20 years ago. No survivors. Leora felt a chill. That's my home world. Reed nodded. Or what's left of it. The hologram shifted. A council of alien leaders appeared, tall, glowing beings, and in the middle of them, a younger human. Angry, standing straight, that's me, Reed said. During the Treaty of Genesis, the day the war ended. Leora blinked. What treaty? Reed looked her in the eye. The one that created you. He sat down again. The war between humans and the core worlds lasted 50 years. Billions died, and no one was winning. So the leaders met, desperate, for peace. Leora leaned in. They made a deal, Reed continued. A peace treaty, but not just words, something bigger. A long-term plan to stop war forever. He pointed to the hologram. They created the SEED program, a way to combine DNA from both sides, to make a new species, one that belonged to everyone, one that no one would dare fight. Leora's breath caught. They made me in a lab? Reed nodded. Yes, but you were different. You were the only one who survived. Leora stood up. So they hid me. Sold me like trash at some alien auction. Just hoping I'd end up pregnant? Reed didn't answer. You knew, she whispered. You knew what I was. I didn't know everything, he said quickly. Not until recently. I thought you were just one of the lost. But when the test showed you were pregnant, I contacted the old war council. That's when they told me. She turned away, shaking. You used me. No, he said, standing. I protected you. They were going to send agents, take you apart piece by piece. I stopped them. I kept you safe. She looked over her shoulder. Why? Why do you care? Reed took a deep breath. Because I saw what the war did. To both sides. And you. Your hope. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. Unidentified. Ship approaching, the AI announced. Weapons locked. Reed ran to the control room. Leora followed, her heart racing. A huge black ship hovered in space, a bounty ship, but much larger than before. This wasn't some small-time crew. This was military, elite. Reed stared at the screen. They found us faster than I expected. Leora swallowed. What do we do? We don't run, he said. We hide. He flipped a few switches. The ship disappeared from radar, cloaking itself behind an asteroid field. The enemy ship passed them slowly. Light scanned the rocks. Then, it turned and moved away. For now. After it was gone, Reed checked the system logs. He froze. What is it? Leora asked. He showed her the screen. They didn't find us. They were called here. She stepped back. You think someone on the council betrayed us? He nodded grimly. Or someone worse. That night, Leora had another dream. But it felt different. She wasn't floating. She was standing in a throne room made of stars. And the voice was clearer now. You are the first, but not the last. Protect the seed, or everything burns. She woke up gasping, her hands glowing with light. And then, she felt it. The baby, not just moving, awake. She stumbled out of bed and ran to the med bay. Scan me again, she told the AI. The scan took longer this time. It beeped. Unusual development. Fetal brain activity, advanced. Fetal energy, unknown. Origin, mixed species hybrid. Classification, royal. She blinked. Royal? The AI continued. This child carries the ancient code of the progenitors. Designation, starborn. Leora stepped back. Progenitors, the first rulers of the galaxy. Long dead. Only myths remained. And now, one was being born. In her. Reed entered, holding a message chip. Another ship's coming, he said. But not to attack. Then why? He tossed the chip on the table. To kneel. What? Reed played the message. A hologram of an alien noble appeared, bowing low. We know what she carries. We recognize the code. The throne is waking. And some of us, I still believe. Leora stood frozen. From a slave to a queen, from an orphan to the mother of a galactic heir. No, this was too much. But deep inside her, the child pulsed again. Warm, bright, and full of power. Far across the stars, a shadowy figure watches a screen. She's carrying it, he says. A second voice, colder. Then kill them all. Before the child is born. The chase begins. Leora sat at the front of the ship, staring out at the stars. But they didn't look peaceful anymore. Not after the message. Not after the warning. Kill them all. Before the child is born. Those words echoed in her ears. She didn't tell Reed about them. Not yet. She wasn't sure if he already knew, or if he was just pretending everything was okay. But everything wasn't okay. She was carrying something powerful, something ancient, and the entire galaxy was starting to wake up to that fact. And they were coming. Reed was quiet as he worked on the ship's controls. He didn't need to say anything. His hands moved fast, his face was hard. Where are we going? Leora asked finally. He looked over at her. Somewhere we can hide. For now. That worked so well last time, she said, her voice sharp. He gave a dry smile. I'm not hiding from them. I'm hiding from you. She blinked. What? Reed sighed and sat down. You're changing, Leora. Fast. The child is speeding up your evolution. You're not like any species we know anymore. You sound afraid. I am, he admitted, because I don't know if you're becoming a savior or a weapon. The silence stretched between them. Finally, Leora stood. You want to know what I feel? He raised an eyebrow. I feel fire inside me, energy I can't explain. Sometimes it scares me. Sometimes it feels like home. Reed nodded. Then let's find out where home is. The ship jumped to hyperspace. A blur of blue and silver swallowed the stars. Their destination, Arc Station, one of the oldest space stations in the sector. Half abandoned, full of smugglers, ex-soldiers, and ghosts of the war. Old friends of mine live there, Reed said. If anyone can help, it's them. What kind of friends? The kind who owe me. When they landed, the station groaned like a dying beast. Metal scratched against metal. Lights flickered. The air smelled like oil and fire. But it was safe, for now. Reed led Leora through narrow halls, past aliens with robotic arms, faces covered in scars and strange eyes that watched her too long. A woman stepped out of the shadows. She was tall, with short white hair, and wore armor that looked like it had survived 10 battles and won them all. Talon, Reed said. Still ugly, I see. The woman grinned. Still breathing, I see. They hugged like warriors. Rough, brief, but real. Talon looked at Leora. This her? Leora stared back, chin up. Talon nodded. Yeah, she's the one. In a dark control room, Talon showed them a star map. Red dots covered the screen. Bounty hunters, mercenaries, even royal fleets. All looking for her. Leora stepped forward. Why? Why now? Talon zoomed in on one red dot blinking fast. Because someone leaked the scan data from your pregnancy. Someone showed the galaxy what's inside you. Reed slammed a fist into the wall. Who did it? Talon shrugged. The bounty net is protected. Could be anyone. Could be someone close. Leora frowned. Her stomach twisted. You mean him? She looked at Reed. Maybe, Talon said. Or maybe someone else on the inside. Suddenly, boom. The station shook. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Boarding pods incoming, shouted a voice over the intercom. They found us, Talon growled. Again. Reed grabbed Leora's hand. We're leaving now. They ran through the halls as explosions rocked the station. Walls cracked. Fires burst from pipes. Talon stayed behind to cover them. I'll hold them off. Get the girl out. Reed and Leora reached the ship just as a pod crashed into the hangar. Out stepped an armored soldier. Tall, masked. His armor shimmered with red light. He looked straight at Leora. Give me the seed, he said, voice deep like thunder. Reed raised. His blaster? You'll have to kill me first. The soldier smiled under his mask. Gladly. Blaster fire lit the room. Reed rolled behind a crate, firing. Leora ducked as sparks flew over her head. Suddenly she screamed, not in fear, but in fury. Her hands glowed. The air cracked like lightning. With a roar, she lifted her arms and the enemy soldier flew backward, slammed into the wall by an invisible force. Reed froze. Leora blinked. Her hands were smoking. The lights flickered around her. What was that? She whispered. You just threw a 300-pound soldier into a wall with your mind, Reed said, stunned. I didn't try, she said. That's what scares me. They took off. The station exploded behind them. From space, Arc Station looked like a dying sun. Leora sat in the co-pilot's chair, shaking. Reed, she said softly, if I become something else, if I become dangerous. He looked over. You already are, but you're not alone. Later that night, Reed replayed an old message from the council. It had been marked classified. If the seed survives past 10 weeks, its mental link will be complete. The mother and child will become one. Her mind, her emotions, even her pain, shared. If she dies, the seed dies. Reed closed his eyes. Leora couldn't just be protected. She had to live, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, in a dark corner of the galaxy, a council of cloaked beings sat around a fire that burned with blue light. "She has awakened," one of them said. "The Starborn is coming," said another. "We must prepare the way." In the shadows, a voice whispered, "Or we must end it." Back. On the ship, Leora stood in front of a mirror. Her reflection shimmered, not just her skin, her eyes. They weren't just glowing now. They were stars, and they were watching back. Betrayal in the stars. The ship floated quietly in deep space, hidden behind a dying moon. Leora stood near the observation window. Her reflection shimmered in the glass, half her, half something else. Her eyes glowed dimly now, even in the dark. The stars outside seemed to pulse when she blinked. She didn't know if she was imagining it, or if they were blinking back. Inside her, the child stirred. Stronger now, stronger every day. Reed entered the control room, holding a data pad. His face was tense. "We got a message," he said. "From who?" He tapped the pad. A hologram appeared, in front of them. An alien woman with silver skin and sharp eyes. She wore the crest of the Unified Core Council. "My name is Velra," the woman said. "We represent what remains of the peace treaty. We ask that you come to the neutral zone, unarmed. We wish to talk, to offer safety, and answers." Reed scowled. Neutral zone, more like a trap. Leora watched the message replay. She said answers. She also said unarmed. That's council speak for walk into our cage nicely. Leora crossed her arms. "I want to go." Reed's eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Because I need to know where I came from, why I was made, why this child is more than just a baby." Reed didn't like it, but he knew better than to argue with her now. They arrived at the neutral zone 2 days later. The station was huge, almost like a floating city. Old symbols of the treaty were still painted on the outside, faded and cracked. Security. Ships surrounded it like angry bees. As their ship docked, Leora felt a headache begin, a sharp pulsing pressure in her mind. The child was not happy. Inside the council hall, everything was silent and silver. It smelled like metal and incense. Velra stood waiting. "Welcome, Leora, welcome, Seed Mother." Leora frowned. "Stop calling me that." Velra smiled gently. "You carry more than just a child. You carry balance, or destruction." Reed didn't speak, but his hand was near his weapon. Another figure stepped out from the shadows. It was the old man from the messages, the one Reed had spoken to in secret. Leora's breath caught. "You?" Reed looked away. Velra stepped forward. "He was never just an advisor, he's a watcher, one of the original seed designers." The old man nodded. "You were not supposed to survive, Leora, but now you have. And that changes everything." Leora's voice was ice. "So what now? You want to study me, lock me away, kill me?" "No," Velra said softly. "We want to protect you. And the galaxy." "From what?" Velra turned, and suddenly a large screen lit up. Video footage played. Battles, planets burning, ships exploding. "These are visions we've received from deep space. They come from the child." Leora blinked. "What do you mean?" "The child is already speaking," said the old man, "across time, across space." Reed finally stepped in. "We've seen no visions." "Because it's not meant for you," Velra replied. "It's meant for us, for those the child wants to warn." Leora's chest tightened. She remembered the dreams, the fire, the broken stars. Was it just a dream, or a message? Then Velra's tone changed. "We believe the child could bring peace or war, but too many factions want it for themselves. If we don't act, others will." Leora stepped back. "What are you saying?" The old man looked sad. "We want to keep you here, where it's safe, until the child is born." Reed's voice cracked like thunder. "You're not locking her in a glass box. It's not a prison, Velra replied calmly. But Leora already saw the guards at the door. She turned to Reed. You knew this would happen. He looked down. I thought they would offer peace. I didn't know they'd do this. She stared at him. You contacted them behind my back. Silence. That was all the answer she needed. Betrayal stung harder. Then a blaster shot. She turned away. You said you'd protect me. You said you were different. I am, Reed said. But I'm also scared of what's coming, of what they might do to you if we don't. Leora raised a hand. The air around her pulsed. The lights in the council hall flickered. Don't, she whispered. Don't say another word. Velra looked between them. She's unstable. Leora's voice echoed. Deeper. Doubled. Not just hers. I am not unstable. I am becoming. Everyone froze. The child was speaking through her. Suddenly, alarms screamed. The station shook. An explosion rocked the outer wall. Velra shouted, What is this? A guard ran in, bleeding. Pirates! Someone sold our coordinates. More ships appeared on the screen, black, fast, unmarked. One fired directly at the station. Leora felt pain ripple through her stomach. The baby! She gasped. Reed caught her before she fell. They had to run. As chaos filled the hall, Leora felt the child reaching through her again. This time she didn't resist. She raised her hand, and the hallway bent. Metal twisted. Gravity snapped. Doors sealed shut behind them as they ran. Outside the station, Talon's voice came through on comms. Miss me? She flew a sleek black ship through enemy fire like she was born for it. I tracked the leak, she said. It was someone inside. The council, this was always a setup. Reed helped Leora onto Talon's ship. She was pale, breathing hard. Her energy spiking, he said. She's going into labor, Talon replied. Too early. Can we jump? No, Talon said, turning the ship hard. We need a safe planet, somewhere no one will look. As they escaped into the void of space, Leora laid back, tears in her eyes. Why does everyone want this child? Reed held her hand. Because they're afraid of it. I am too, she whispered. Then quietly, gently, the child spoke inside her mind. Do not fear. I chose you. And for the first time, she felt love. Not fear, not anger, just love. But across the galaxy, a new army was being formed, not pirates, not soldiers, but something ancient. And their leader? The man with the red mask, the one Leora threw into the wall. He stood in the ruins of Arc Station, holding a piece of metal that still glowed with her energy. He whispered to the stars, I will bring the child home, dead or alive. The Starborn, the ship cut through space like a silver arrow, engines blazing, hull rattling. Inside, Leora screamed. She lay on a medical bed drenched in sweat, her glowing hands clutching the sides like they were melting metal. Her eyes were no longer just bright. They were full-on starlight. She's in labor, Reed shouted, holding her hand, trying to stay calm. Talon worked the controls. We're minutes from the planet. Hold her steady. She's going to break the ship, the onboard AI warned, its voice crackling. Energy output increasing. Hull integrity at risk. She's not the one breaking the ship, Reed growled. The child is. Outside, space was tearing. A wave of energy pulsed from the ship's path, invisible to the eye but real enough to knock two bounty hunter ships off course. Inside, Leora gasped. Her voice was layered again, her own voice plus something else, something ancient. I see the past. I see the stars dying. I see what comes after. Reed leaned close. Leora, look at me. She turned. For a second he saw her, not the power, not the mystery, her, terrified, brave. Don't let them take the child, she whispered. Never, he said. The ship landed hard on a hidden moon called Neres, a secret rebel refuge filled with old tech, wild terrain, and zero council surveillance. Talon had stashed resources here years ago. "Get her inside," Talon shouted. "The medpod's still working." "Barely." Reed carried Leora through the crumbling stone corridors. She felt light, too light, like her body was only half. "Here." Her voice echoed again. "He is awake." The medpod activated, glowing blue. Leora was placed inside. The baby's energy spiked. Monitors glitched. Lights blew out. And then, everything stopped. Silence. A heartbeat. Then, light. It wasn't a normal birth. Not even close. Leora's body floated above the pod. Stars appeared around her. Literally. Miniature galaxies spiraled from her palms. Her voice and the baby's voice merged. "I am born of treaty and trauma. I am not a weapon. I am not peace. I am the next step." Reed shielded his eyes. Talon took a step back. "That's not a baby. That's a cosmic event." Then, a pulse. And in the center of the light, a child, small, glowing, silent, floating in the air surrounded by soft stardust, a boy, eyes open, eyes that looked at Reed, Talon, and the broken stars outside, and understood everything. The light dimmed. The child floated gently into Leora's arms. She was lying back in the pod again, breathing hard, but alive. The child didn't cry. He just stared. And then, he spoke, not with his mouth. "Hello." His voice was calm, clear, in everyone's minds. Reed stumbled back. "He can talk?" The baby blinked. "I do not speak. I connect." Leora whispered, "Who are you?" "I am the Starborn. You are my mother." "And he?" The baby looked at Reed. "He is my protector." Reed couldn't speak. Talon finally managed to say, "Well, that's not terrifying at all. They stayed hidden for 3 days. The child, they named him Kale, grew fast, not in size, but in awareness. He walked within 24 hours. He didn't eat. He absorbed light. He didn't cry. But sometimes, he stared at the stars and whispered things, like, 'This system will fall in 9 cycles. The veil is thinning. The dead ones remember.' Reed didn't sleep much. Leora watched her son like a mother and a student. She wasn't sure who was teaching who. On the 3rd night, Kale sat by a pool of glowing water in the ruins. He turned to Leora and said, "They are coming." She frowned. "Who?" "The ones who fear me, the ones who worship me, the ones who made me." Talon burst into the room. "We've got incoming ships, not pirates, not bounty hunters. These ones are cloaked, elite." Reed grabbed his gear. "Council?" Talon shook her head. "No, worse." She played a video feed. A red mark appeared on the enemy ship. Reed froze. "That's him." Leora turned pale. "The masked soldier?" Reed nodded. "He survived." Kale stood up. His body began to glow again. Leora ran to him. "What are you doing?" "Protecting you." "No," she said, holding his shoulders. "Not yet. You're just a child." He looked at her, ancient and innocent all at once. "So were you." Once, the air around him shimmered. Outside, the enemy ships descended. Soldiers dropped from the sky, fully armored, weapons raised. The masked soldier stepped forward. Red lights pulsed from his suit. "Bring me the seed," he said coldly. Reed stepped out to face him. "No." The soldier looked past him. "Then I will take him." The battle began. Explosions shook the ground. Reed and Talon fought side by side. Fast, brutal, precise. But the enemy was stronger this time. Smarter. Inside, Kale placed a hand on the wall. The entire moon pulsed. Ancient systems reactivated. The ruins began to rise, shift, rearrange into a defensive structure. Leora watched in awe. You're controlling the moon. Kyle didn't answer. Outside, the red-masked soldier threw Reed across the battlefield. He walked toward the chamber where Kyle stood. Leora blocked the doorway. "You'll have to go through me," she said. He raised his weapon. "Gladly." Then Kyle stepped out. "Stop." The soldier froze mid-shot. His body locked, his weapon dropped, his knees buckled. Kyle walked closer. Calm, barefoot, glowing. "You were made to kill me," Kyle said. The soldier tried to speak. "You were made with fear. I was made with choice." Kale raised a hand. The sky turned white. "I do not kill, but I do end." The soldier vanished. No scream, no flash, just gone. Reed stumbled to Kale. "What did you do?" Kale looked tired. I showed him his own fear. He chose to disappear. Then he fell into Reed's arms. Later, Kale slept in a pod of light. Reed sat nearby, shaken. Leora sat beside him. "I think I just saw a god," Reed said softly. "No," Leora replied. "You saw a child." Reed looked at her. "And what happens when that child grows up?" She looked at the stars. "We find out." Far, far away, on a dead world, a massive alien being opened its eyes. The Starborn has awakened. In the shadows, 100 voices whispered, "Prepare the Ark. The war begins again." A new empire. 2 weeks later, the galaxy was changing. Whispers of the Starborn spread like wildfire. Across black markets, royal courts, ancient temples, and forgotten battlefields. Some called him a messiah. Some called him a mistake. But all agreed on one thing. Kyle had arrived. On the hidden moon of Neres, Reed stood at the edge of a cliff, staring at a floating tower Kale had raised from the ruins. It wasn't made. It had been remembered into existence. Leora stood beside him, wind brushing through her hair. She looked different now, regal, steady, not just a survivor. She looked like a queen. "He hasn't spoken since that night," Reed said. Leora nodded. "He's inside himself. Learning. Feeling everything." Reed glanced at her. "Do you trust him?" "I do," she said quietly. "But I don't trust what's coming for him." Inside the tower, Kale sat cross-legged, floating mid-air. Around him, projections of time flowed. Wars, peace, the first galaxies being born and the last ones dying. He wasn't a baby anymore. He looked 5 years old, maybe older. But his eyes, they carried the weight of millions of years. "They are coming," he said softly. "The last of the Ark-born." His voice echoed across space. Meanwhile, deep in the black void of the Maelstrom Nebula, a fleet was gathering. Ships older than stars, crewed by beings who had once ruled galaxies and wanted that crown back. Their leader sat on a throne of bones. He was the first failed Starborn, a creature named Nyryx. He had been made before Kyle. Broken. Twisted. Open. "The rift," Nyryx ordered. "Bring me the child, dead or alive." Back on Neres, Leora felt the shift in the stars. "They've started," she whispered. Reed nodded grimly. "How many?" Talon appeared, armored up and annoyed. "All of them," she flicked on a hologram. 12 massive enemy fleets closing in. "This is war," she said. "No," Kale's voice came from the doorway, calm as gravity. "This is my choice." He walked forward, barefoot, glowing like a small sun. "I was not made to rule. I was made to remind the galaxy of what it forgot." Reed knelt down. "You don't have to face them alone." Kyle touched his forehead. "You were never alone. You carried me before I existed." Leora stepped forward. "Then what will you do?" Kyle smiled, like a child, like a god, like both. "I will speak to them." The sky above Neres cracked. The fleet had arrived. Red ships. War cruisers. shadow beasts flying between them like vultures. Reed looked up. We're outnumbered. Talon drew her blade. Then we count faster. Leora stood tall beside Kale. Let's end this. The final battle began. Neres lit up, with light as Kale stepped into the sky. Yes, stepped. The air turned solid under his feet. He raised one hand. A wave of memory hit the incoming ships. Images of peace, love, war, pain, every life that had ever been lost in this galaxy. The first wave of enemy ships stopped. Some turned away, but not Nyrix. He burst from his flagship in a suit made from the bones of other Starborn. You were the perfect seed, Nyrix roared. But I was the first. Kale turned toward him. No, you were the test. I am the choice. Nyrix charged. On the ground, Reed, Leora, and Talon fought the remaining invaders. Talon flew a jetpack through falling wreckage, slicing enemy mechs in half. Reed led a squad of rebels Talon had called in. Warriors from all across the galaxy who had heard Kale's call. Even pirates were fighting beside monks. Because Kale didn't just speak words, he pulled people's hearts forward. In the sky, Kale and Nyrix clashed, not with weapons, but with will. Kale's light bent the stars. Nyrix's rage cracked moons. The entire system trembled. Leora fell in battle, not hurt, just drained, as she saw Kale starting to falter. Reed, she gasped. He's losing. No, Reed said, covered in dust and blood. He's waiting. Waiting for what? For us. Kale fell to one knee. Nyrix laughed. You're still just a child. Kale looked down, then smiled. No, he said softly. Then his voice became a chorus. I am my mother's strength, my father's will, my people's pain. I am not one. I am many. The ground exploded with energy. All around the galaxy, people who had connected with Kale's energy during his birth, dreams, visions, they felt him, and they answered. On distant worlds, children looked up and started glowing. Old monks meditated, and their chants matched Kale's pulse. Even machines blinked in harmony. And then Nyrix froze. He looked around. The galaxy itself was rejecting him. Kale stood. He whispered, "Go home." And with that, Nyrix unraveled. His armor turned to sand. His body became stardust and then gone. Silence fell. The fleets drifted. Then, one by one, they knelt. Not to a ruler, but to a voice. Later, Reed found Kale sitting on a stone, drawing in the dirt with his fingers like a normal kid. You okay? He asked. Kale nodded. It's done. Reed looked at the sky. Is it really over? Kale smiled. No, it's only beginning. 1 week later, Leora stood on a platform above a new capital. Not a palace, not a fortress, but a floating city open to all. She addressed the galaxy. I am not your queen, she said. I am not your ruler. But I am the mother of the Starborn, and I will protect this peace with my last breath. The crowd roared. Kale stood beside her, holding Reed's hand. Epilogue. In a hidden lab deep in the cold dark, a machine blinked. It showed Kale's image, and another one beside it, smaller, still unborn. A voice whispered, there was never just one seed.